Hi everybody, welcome. This video, I'm going to try to keep it slightly more bite-sized compared to my last couple. I know I've had some long ones out recently, but just kind of been the nature of the subject matter of what I was talking about. But today should be a fairly quick review on a couple of new sponges that have hit the market. They're from Real Techniques. One is a mini sponge that's sold in a little duo pack here, and that is called the Miracle Mini Eraser Sponge. And then you've also got this wild little character, and this is called the Miracle Sculpting Sponge. So this is geared toward highlight and contour, they say on the packaging. I first found out about these when I was scrolling through my YouTube subscription feed, and I saw I'm subscribed to Real Techniques, and they just had a couple little videos out kind of introducing these products. And so I thought, where can I find them? I definitely want to snatch those up and review them. So the only place that they were being sold, at least at the time I'm shooting this video and on that day, it was on the Real Techniques website. I'm not sure when Ulta is going to start carrying these. I assume they will. Just a short backstory before we get going here. I love the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. If you go back and watch like my top 5, bottom 5 of blender sponges, you know this one received a lot of love there. I think it's awesome quality. I've used mine. I have 2 of them. Used them for a long time. Have not had durability issues when I clean them. You really get them saturated with water. They get incredibly soft, and I think they do an awesome job of blending out foundation. I really love using like the flat side to just dab around the skin, and then you can use your pointed side to get more detailed areas. That's just the way I like to use it, but I absolutely love that sponge and have been super impressed with the quality. So first thing I want to talk about are the Miracle Mini Eraser Sponges. So little purple sponges, and if you get a good look at them, you can see they're like a downsized version of the regular Miracle Complexion Sponge. They do have a flat edge. You've got a pointed tip on the opposite side, and then one kind of interesting thing is that it's cut flat right across the top instead of really finishing off to an edge like that. It's got a little flattened out edge there. It cost me $6 to get this duo, and I'll just tell you the claims on the back here. It says from flaking mascara to eyeshadow fallout, these little miracles help sweep away your makeup mishaps. But the thing I was definitely most excited to use this for is concealer. So I'll show you that in a second, but first I just want to show the size comparison with the one that was still in the package, and this is the one that's been saturated with water, then completely, wrung out, and you can see just about how much it grows. Now here's a comparison to the Beauty Blender Micro Mini. Sorry, this is a little dirty too, but you can see it does get considerably larger than the Micro Mini, but ultimately I feel like the amount of point or the angle of the point is still pretty pointed on both, even though this sponge gets a little bit bigger than this one. Now I've really loved my Micro Mini for a couple of reasons. First off, the texture is just so soft and spongy, and it's just really lightweight. To dab it around the eye area, you feel like you can actually blend something out without applying hardly any pressure to the skin, and that's a pretty delicate area. You don't really want to be pulling too much on it, and I've really yet to put my hands on something that is also the mini size that is super duper soft and can just do the same job for me. But I really think this is it, so I'm so excited. It's really soft and spongy, and you have a flat edge, which I found out I especially love the flat side for baking. It's really good for picking up that powder. So here's what I just wanted to demonstrate for you in this video, since I am kind of doing a comparison with the Micro Mini. I put Benefit Erase Paste under each eye, and then on one side I used my Micro Mini just to blend that out like I normally would. It does a fine job. I really love this product. But what I've found is that the Real Techniques sponge can do the very same thing. It can get into the same spots for me, but it does it just a little bit faster, given that the size is slightly larger, but it's still super soft. It seems like maybe even a slightly softer material than the original Miracle Complexion Sponge. And it could just be that the smaller size makes it even more squishable, But really can't complain about the finished effect that I get from this. And something I've started to realize is that this little cut off, nubby end there could be pretty good for wedging in right up under your lower lash line. Like some people like to do their eye makeup first. That little blunt edge there could possibly keep your product a little bit more confined to exactly where you want to place it. So overall, I am really happy with this little guy, and it's gone through just one cleaning so far, so I'm sorry I can't really comment comment on longevity and just how durable it is over the long term. All I really have to look at is the reputation of my larger sponge, and I know that that's been good. But 2 little sponges for $6 total I think is a great deal. I'm probably not going to bust into this other one until I really feel like I need to, but I do think this was a missing piece for Real Techniques. They had this great, full-size sponge that works very well all over the face, and, having something just downsized but in a very similar shape to that, I think was a really smart idea. Now I want to move on to this other sponge that looks really different. I don't own anything else like this, so this won't be so much of a comparison review, but just how well does this guy work. It's called the Miracle Sculpting Sponge. This was also $6. It says use damp or dry, designed to help create shadows or highlight your favorite facial features. So what you've got here is this real kind of hourglass pear-shaped type sponge, and there are 2 flat edges, a big flat surface right there, and then a much smaller flat surface that's almost a little bit triangle shaped right there on that side. And the little diagram on the back of the packaging identifies this part of the sponge as contour and this part as highlight. But you kind of just have to use it for a while and I think realize what's the best purpose for this in my life. But overall, just the feel of the sponge, very, very soft and squishy, just like the purple one that I had saturated with water. I also did that with this. Get it really, really damp under the sink and then wring it out completely. So it just feels kind of slightly damp to the touch, but you can tell it's very soft, and the size is just blown up a little bit from where it originally was. So the way I use this product, I brought in my little Maybelline Master Contour Stick. I don't think I've used this on camera yet, but I have it in the shade Light, and I just drew that product on basically wherever I wanted it. And then I used the light side, which is just like a light, matte, creamy highlight, and I dabbed that anywhere I wanted to highlight. Going along with the instructions on the packaging, and then I went back and rewatched the Real Techniques video that was pointing out the features. Basically, they're thinking this flat side could be what you use to blend out the contour, and for me, it seems like just a little too big. Like if I want to use that and really spread my product, it would be a little too much, a little too wide of a surface area on my skin. And when I was playing with this yesterday, I just thought it's my instinct to turn the sponge a little bit and use it more around this side, this kind of curved edge, as opposed to the flat side for blending contour. And I can definitely achieve a decent blend using it from the side, but I don't think that was necessarily the intention. But I went all over the face, getting the contour all blended out, and then you've got that additional flat side or more rounded surface area up top where you could use that to blend out your highlight. I kind of like the idea of 2 distinct sides to a sponge, so when you are blending light and dark product one right after the next, you're not really mixing it, or you're not having to go give it a rinse under the sink first or something like that. So it's a really soft sponge. I think it's very easy to work with, and I think it did a fine job of blending out that product all over the skin. I guess the feeling I come away with is that I might actually like and take advantage of this larger side a bit more if I was just blending foundation all over my face, actually. But that's very much like the flat side that you get with the original Miracle Complexion Sponge, which I already love, which I already found, was something that could blend out contour and blend out cream highlight and do all those different things. So whereas the mini sponge, I think, really had a need and a place in this line of sponges, this one, I wasn't sitting around thinking, gosh, I need something else that can blend out my cream contour, because this sponge can really do that for me. I can just turn it on its side, I can squish it a little bit, I can use the flat side if I wanted to, but primarily I like using that on foundation. But I don't really see this one as a total like, oh, I gotta have that in my collection, or it's doing something completely game-changing that this one couldn't do, because it's not really for me. You do also lose some surface area that you're actually gonna do anything with, like this pinched in part is never really gonna touch the skin. With this sponge, you can conceivably use absolutely any portion of this and get use out of it on your face. Now I want to talk about baking for a second. So applying a real thick amount of powder, let's say to this under eye zone here, leaving it on there for like 5 minutes or so, and then dusting it away, and you've usually got like really good coverage, a really smooth look to the under eye. I've used the flat side of both of these to bake my under eye area and just pick pick up some loose powder and dab it right on. Yesterday I had used this on one eye and I found that the flat side was maybe just a little more surface area than I was really looking for, but using the mini for that and the flat edge is, I think, absolutely perfect. When I've used a beauty blender sponge to try to pick up powder and bake or anything that's rounded off, I have so much more trouble actually getting it on there and doing it quickly, like dab, 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 okay, it's there, I'm done. That's not usually my experience. I gotta keep going back and getting more and more. Okay, is that enough? You know, it's kind of tricky, but this little flat side and this smaller size sponge picks up just the right amount for the under eye area, and I just dab it right on and I'm good. And then, you know, I let that sit on my skin for a little while, no more than 5 minutes, and then just dust it away with a brush. So I hope this video was able to sort out some details on these new sponges from Real Techniques. Again, very, very impressed with their mini sponges, 2 for $6. I don't think you can beat it. Just as easy to use as my micro mini, but maybe a little bit quicker in the concealer application. Plus, I love the baking capability that you have with that flat side. This other sponge, I like where their head's at with the dual purpose of each end, but I don't feel like it's a necessity for me because I think I could do any of those things with this sponge, including foundation. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. Bye.